So I think we're live. I'm just waiting for the system to catch up. Can you guys see me? I think we're live. Are we live? You guys let me know when you can see me. I think we are live. Are we live? Woo! Yay! You guys can see me. It's so good. Hi, everybody. It's time. Okay, so welcome. Here we are. July Illumina. So exciting. I always look forward to this time with you guys because in Illumina, it's kind of no holds barred, right? Like we can talk about anything with some level of mastery and confidence for a very long time. So what I want to do tonight is extend our conversation about astrology. Thanks so much, you guys. I felt like you were with me yesterday. It was very sweet. It's fun to have an experience like yesterday where it felt like you guys were all with me and celebrating together. It's very sweet. So I see you. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So we're going to talk about astrology a little bit more tonight. Thank you, Pam. I appreciate it. Sabrina says she's hiding from the 9 children running about. Did you see the video on my Facebook page the other day? My kids were playing Life. So I just recorded a minute of it because it was just so fun to watch them play with each other. And so Zoe was asking me, or Nick was asking me, what would you do if you had 9 babies? And I said, I would run away. So anyway, you're a very brave woman, and I hope that they're going to behave very well for you, and we will smudge away any stress that you might be feeling right now, and just call you into present time. So we have had quite an energetic experience these last couple of weeks, have we not? There's so much happening. And then we have this huge total solar eclipse coming it's on the menu with our beautiful new moon coming up in Leo on August 21st. I just did my 3rd interview today with different blogs and websites and news outlets talking about the eclipse, which is really fun because everybody wants to know, what's the meaning of an eclipse. So we should talk about that a little bit tonight too, just because I won't see you live again before the eclipse. I'll see you on the night of the eclipse, but in any case, it'd be fun to sort of talk about that too and prepare you for that. And then I have a giveaway tonight because we're going to be talking about karma tonight. I had 2 interviews today. One of them was with entrepreneur.com talking about heart-centered business and how to do that, and the other interview was with Refinery 29 about the eclipse. So it's very exciting. I did a Reader's Digest interview yesterday about the eclipse, and it's exciting for us. I will tell you, I really appreciate that you guys are sharing those articles that I share with you, because my goal, of course, is to open the door a little bit wider to make what we do a little more mainstream. And I'm opening that door for all of us, right? So in helping me and in sharing these articles, what it does is it tells those people, hey, we should work with her because she has a community that takes her content and shares it and enjoys it. The reason that's a benefit to all of us is if we can finally make metaphysics mainstream, we will have crossed a major hurdle together. And it's a hurdle that will benefit so many people. For me, I look at myself as somebody who's trying to open a door. You know what I mean? So Reader's Digest is mainstream. Redbook is mainstream. Entrepreneur.com is mainstream. MSN is mainstream. Refinery 29 is mainstream. So a lot of the work that I'm doing right now is mainstream as well. So I'm really, really, really excited. And there's some things coming up that are very exciting, things I haven't quite talked about just yet because I'm just not ready to talk about them, but there's some other fun, good things coming. But that is my goal. My goal is to open the door wider to make sure that the work that we do is understood in the mainstream, received in the mainstream, and talked about in the mainstream, because I think that is going to allow all of us to start to step forward. And part of it is, I'm doing this for those in our community who might not be able to do it for themselves yet. They're still in that closet, or people still don't accept, or they're still nervous, they're still uncomfortable. So I figure if I can get in there and throw the door a little bit wider open, then the people who come behind me won't have to work quite as hard. It's almost like fighting for those early rights. You know what I mean? Like fighting to get that understanding so that we live in a more tolerant world. So when I hope you know that when I share the articles with you and ask you to share them, it's because I think it's not a pride thing, it's not an ego thing. I'm not trying to say, oh, here's my article, go share it. I need your help, because the more that these articles get out there, the less people are going to be afraid of us and what we do. They're going to see that it's actually quite normal and quite natural and quite healthy and wonderful. And so the people behind all of us won't have to work quite as hard to prove something, if that makes sense. So that's the work that I'm doing right now. And on and on and on we go. Thanks, you guys. I appreciate you too. So tonight I want to talk about karma. I want to talk about life lessons with you. You ready? And we're going to do a very quick introduction to the nodes, okay? The North Node and the South Node, which in your birth chart are indications of some well-established qualities that you may have and patterns that you're aware of, and then also some skills that you need to develop and cultivate with intention, because they're going to help you move forward along your soul path. Thanks, you guys. So that's the focus for tonight. And one of the things I want to say to you is a lot of us are doing this karmic release work. And in fact, I'm getting ready to schedule the bonus session, because Sabbatical is going to have their own private bonus session on karmic release. And then I'm making a short video for everybody who purchased the karmic release kit with the little fabric so you can make your own medicine bundle. So one of the things when we're done talking astrology a little bit tonight, I want to talk to you about some rituals that you can do. If you're in Sabbatical, obviously you can do the one that I'm going to be putting together or launching shortly just for Sabbatical. But no matter what kind of karmic work you're doing, and your nodes are just going to tell you a little bit more about what that is. My North Node is in Capricorn. Your South Node is always the exact opposite of that sign. 6 signs away. Okay, so opposite of Capricorn is Cancer. That's where my South Node is. So whatever your North Node is, just turn the wheel, 6 signs. That will tell you what your South Node is, and we're going to talk about the difference between the nodes tonight and how to work with those energies. The karma says, I'm healing karma from abortion and struggling to create a ritual to heal from the process. Part of what I love is that in our communities, we can talk about those things. You know what I mean? Because that is a very specific type of trauma. And there's always this open question that people ask me, and of course I don't have all the answers, but people will say, well, how do you know what you incur karma from and what you don't? So somebody might say, well, I had an abortion. Was that karmic? You know what I mean? Did I necessarily incur karma? And I truly believe, in my experience, so everything I'm telling you tonight is just what I know. If you ask somebody else, you might get a different opinion or different information, and I just want to point that out, because the reality is none of us totally knows how karma works, right? I mean, because we don't fully know about the soul's path. We have a good idea. We think we understand incarnation and reincarnation. We think we understand how souls incarnate together and that we have soul contracts. Like, there's some kind of basics, right, about karma. The one thing I can tell you is I do think it's different for everybody. Okay, the kind of karma that you accrue and the extent to which that karma has to be worked out immediately. What I've seen is some people accrue karma, and for some reason they have to work it out right away. And I think for those people, it's because they're not on a track to keep coming back too many more times. So I think when people accrue karma and they're on their last lifetime, there's a sense of urgency for them to work through whatever that karma is. Just things I've noticed over the decades I've been doing this. And then I've noticed that people who are on a little bit more of a slow track, because this isn't their last rodeo. When they incur karma, it's not like there's this instant, go fix that, don't let that fester kind of thing. And then the other piece too, Sarah says she has the urgency. And what I've noticed is people do know. Like Sarah just said, I have that urgency. In my experience, I've seen that people either know they do or they don't. Where they're like, yeah, something happened, but I mean, like I'll use my mom as an example. She has accrued karma. She is in no hurry. And there's no judgment there. She's just in no hurry. I mean, literally, my mom's thought process does not include, wow, I incurred some karma or some karmic debt energy, and I need to figure out a way to resolve this or reconcile it or integrate it or make it right. That isn't even a conversation. So I'm curious how you guys are feeling, kind of on that spectrum. Like, let's say spectrum 1 to 10, where 10 is when I incur karmic debt, I know I have to work it out immediately. Like, I'm given a sign from my guides or whatever that I better go and fix this. 1 being when I incur karmic debt, I feel no motivation to reconcile it or work through it right away. I would love for you guys to plot yourselves there. Kaylee says she's a 10. My guess is, because your conscious, awake human beings, a lot of you are probably between 5 to 10. That's my guess. So Elizabeth, Elizabeth's saying, I feel really called to work on it, but no sense of urgency. If you feel called to work on it, I think that's a tiny sense of urgency. I mean, you know yourself better than I do. Yeah, so it's interesting, right? So yeah, I'm seeing you guys fall in that 5, 7, 8 kind of range. That's what I would kind of expect. Mine is, I'm going to call mine an 8 because I don't get the like, hurry now, today, it has to happen today. 10 means like, don't leave that door open. You know what I mean? Like go, 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 where you might stop and go in the middle of a day or in the middle of a conversation. So Liz says she's a 4. So it's interesting, right? Because I bet if I was to ask some of the people in my life who are slow about it, they'd put themselves at like a 0 to 3 maybe. No urgency to reconcile the karma. It's fascinating. And here's the other thing. I mean, how often are you aware? Right? I think as some of us get older and longer in the tooth in terms of how long we've been doing this work, I think we get more sort of like a urgent notification, like neon karma, oh shit, this is bad. You need to fix this. Like I do think that there's as people get deeper into their practice, they get more of a ding dong kind of a notification. Whereas I think people who aren't really so focused on their soul work, I think they know, but I don't think they get the. Robin says her husband is negative 100. I'd put my mom at like a negative 50. She's somewhere in that negative situation. Yeah, it's really, really interesting. It's really interesting because at the end of the day, this is what's fascinating for me, right? Like it's a choice. It's a choice that you have. You always have a choice. I don't think anybody feels like I have to work out my karma before I go. I don't think anybody necessarily feels like that. But I do think it's a constant choice of like, okay, well, that happened. Do I want to work through it? Do I want to figure it out, right? Okay, so if you have your North Node figured out, that's great. If you don't, I had posted in the group earlier today with just a quick link that just takes very basic information. It's literally like click, 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 and it takes you right to your nodes. And then, like I said, if you already know your North Node, you already know your South Node too. You just add 6 signs to it, and you end up with your South Node, which is the opposite. Yeah, not funny. You guys have a lot in common. Okay, so the North Node is all of your underdeveloped skills. Okay, so the North Node is part of your soul's work in this lifetime. They both are, but your North Node is about the skills in you that you need. They're important for you, but they're highly underdeveloped. This is what we would call it in consulting a skill gap area. Okay, and mine's in Capricorn, and so I'm going to walk you through kind of high level, and you guys can share with me in the feed where your North Node is to give you a little more insight into yours. Again, just sort of broad, high-level themes. I'm not going to get too much into like all the specifics. These are your underdeveloped skills that you need to develop in this lifetime in order to find balance. Let me say that again. Your North Node tells you about underdeveloped skills that you need to build in this lifetime in order to find greater balance and peace and harmony. Now, my North Node is Capricorn, which that doesn't surprise me at all. I have very little Earth in my chart. Capricorn is the sign of the father, and it's the sign of which fatherhood has been a theme throughout my life. Not so much motherhood, but fatherhood. And so this is about figuring out what you lack. And Capricorn is about industriousness, achievement, organization, karma in relationship. Capricorn represents all of that. So for me, I think a lot of my karmic energy is around figuring out what my relationship is to authority and to rules. And figuring out, now it's really interesting, if you have a good astrologer, I'm Cancer South, by the way. If you have a good astrologer, and I recommend that you find one, what they can do is they can actually walk you through some karmic patterns that you need to become aware of. And one of the things that North Node Capricorn folks like me, is anybody else North Node Capricorn? By the way, we talked about houses last time, and houses tell you about the context for your karmic evolution, because houses are just context. They're context for whatever activity is having there. So if you go back to your notes from July, you're going to have all of my thoughts on each of the houses and what they represent. Then you can figure out where your north node placement is, and that will tell you about the context for the karma that's going to unfold for you. Okay, so it looks like we see a lot of Cancer north nodes. We have Libra, Sagittarius, Taurus, Aquarius, Scorpio, Virgo. I'm just going through the list just to check in. Valerie's Taurus, Nicole's another Cancer, lots of Cancer. Aries, we have Colin is Libra, Karen's another Cancer. So I'm just kind of going through to see where you are. Divinia is Virgo in the north. Pam is Sagittarius. Patty is Pisces. Who did I miss? Teresa Farnsworth is Libra. Suzanne's Cap in the north. Okay, so Suzanne and I so far are the only... Oh, and then Akasha is north. Very cool. Dot's a Gemini. Yeah. Mandy's a Gemini. Got it. Okay, so this gives me kind of a good lay of the land. So let's start... Sarah's Leo. Interesting. So let's start sort of... we're going to scratch the surface on this tonight, but my hope is that you'll be so excited about it that you'll want to kind of go down this rabbit hole a little bit, because this is going to be important for you. If you're going to do all that karmic release work, it'd be really good for you to understand what some of the themes might be around the releasing that you need to do. Given that mine is in Capricorn, I know mine's around authority, and part of what I have to work through is, most of my karma is around parental relationships. I really came into, partly in this lifetime anyway, to transmute a lot of the energy, especially in some cases darker magical energy, in both my mother's line and my father's line that had been kind of stuck, or it just passed through each generation. And what every other generation before me has done is just ignore it, like la la la, and just do something else, pretend it doesn't exist. And then it got passed down to me because I think they knew I wasn't going to just ignore it. And so I've actually done a lot of the heavy transmutation work that had to happen in order for that energy in those lines to be cleared. Now, that very much is Capricorn, because that's parent, authority, belief system. Capricorn can sometimes in the shadow show up as insecurity around authority, not feeling empowered or confident. And so that's me learning to see my parents as human beings who are flawed and who have had a lot of karmic baggage that they haven't known how to work through or to transmute. That's a challenging thing for a child to look at in their parents and see it and acknowledge it and do that work in a short period of time. So I share all that with you so that you just have a flavor of like, whoa, this is what's going on. Now, let's walk through some of the different signs and talk about what this might be looking like for you. The South Node, just so you know, are overdeveloped traits. Stuff that you should not hold on to, because it's most likely your South Node now was probably your North Node before. And so what you did is you did the soul work of developing those traits to the point where you overdevelop them, and here's what happens. You can actually end up hanging on to or anchoring those Southern Node qualities and disable your own development to a certain extent, because if you're stuck in some of these Akasha's saying she has a strained relationship with her mom. If you're stuck in some of these patterns and you're overdeveloping these skills and you're clinging to them, which is what sometimes happens with the South Node, then you're not making progress, right? So for me, having a South Node in Cancer and that being where my overdeveloped skills are, I have overdeveloped skills, emotional intelligence. Cancer sometimes in the shadow. And think about this for North Node too. Sometimes Cancer represents the child, and the child's desire to maintain security and to maintain connection and to maintain stability. And in the shadow of Cancer, like this is sort of the dark side of Cancer, children will manipulate that. They will deliberately manipulate that parent-child relationship to prevent themselves from having to grow up. Does this make sense to anybody? Now, if your North Node is in Cancer, and for goodness sake, I mean, how many of you have North Node in Cancer, right? If your North Node in Cancer, you're the opposite, right? You have underdeveloped skills in the arena of family, parent-child relationship, and emotional security. And so for you, if your North Node right? In Cancer, you're just 2 steps behind me. I did all that work, and now I've got to focus on authority and relationships between parents, absent the child. So it's a very interesting how some of you are the flip-flop of me. Does that make sense? So let me see if there's anything else in my notes I want to tell you. So think of the nodes. The nodes are not planets. They are points, mathematical points, in relationship to the moon. So that's what a node is. And they really are they're just points of karmic imbalance in your chart. A good astrologer can really trace this back to past lives. It's absolutely fascinating to me. I actually had a reading with an astrologer, and what she told me was that in the past I have been persecuted for my religious beliefs. Now, this doesn't surprise me, and it doesn't surprise probably anybody. But what she was telling me is she could tell from my nodal activity that at some point I actually took the fall for it. In other words, I was in trouble for questioning authority or for questioning religious doctrine, and so were other people, but I wanted to save those other people, so I basically came forward and said it was all me. I did it, and those people didn't do anything, and so I took the fall for what may have been a good number of other people. And so coming into this life, I'm having to figure out, maybe not wanting to repeat that experience again on that kind of martyrdom scale. So having to figure out how to reorient myself to relationship, especially around religious beliefs and doctrine and practices. She didn't see Salem. She saw something much earlier than that, and so. But there's been religious and spiritual persecution for all of history, right? And it's funny because somewhere in my soul that really resonated. I was like, there is part of me that would have done that. Would have said, look, you guys. I'm an older soul. Let me take the hit for this one, kind of thing. It's very interesting, right? And so, she was like, of course you come back into this life and you have kind of a public persona around your spiritual beliefs, because that's exactly why you're here. You're here to be visible. You're here to speak out. But this time you're not going to take the fall for a bunch of people. You're actually going to try and shift the paradigm for the collective. And that's how you work through that karma. So isn't it fascinating how so you can see how knowing some of this stuff really, it's often not surprising. It really is just an illumination. It makes you go, yes, you know what? That makes sense. That makes sense to me. Why am I here doing what I do? Why are you here doing what you do? Why Colin is being called to bring her shamanic practice forward in her life. Why is that happening? And then looking at the nodes to kind of understand timing, because sometimes the nodes can also indicate, so a lot of the nodal activity comes more to fruition in later life, which is part of why I'm bringing this to you now. If I were to talk about nodes with you and you were a teenager and even in probably your late teens, early 20s, it probably wouldn't be as rich a topic for you as it would be in your mid to late 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, because you're already seeing how your soul is evolving through these relationships. And then once here's where it gets really fun and exciting, because then you can look around your life and say, I bet that person's part of my karma. You know what I mean? As soon as I had that reading, I was like, I bet there's people in my web here right now who are part of that persecution all that long time ago, and how I've had to heal and be in relationship with those souls again, fostering trust, fostering communication, fostering openness. It's absolutely fascinating to me. Yeah, Colin's in the middle of her second Saturn return. It certainly could activate the nodes, and if it doesn't activate them, I think it, at the very least, would magnify your experience of the nodes. You know what I mean? Because you're already in such a strong point of transformation. And in case you don't know what a Saturn return is, it's totally okay. I always want you guys to ask the dumb questions, because there's no dumb questions. But some of you might say, well, everybody else knows what a Saturn return is. I'm the only one. Every 28 to 32 years, the Saturn returns to the exact point it was when you were born in your chart. So that is called the return of Saturn. And so you have typically 2 of those in your lifetime, unless you live to be 90, which a lot of people don't. But if you do live to be 90, then you end up with 3 Saturn returns. And everybody I know says, I want to check out before that, because I really don't want to be 88 years old and having my world turned upside down, because that's what Saturn returns do. They show you all the lessons that you haven't learned yet, and then they sort of put you into, I mean, it literally just feels like you're put into some petri dish to be part of a, universal experiment on you to see how fast they can expedite your development. Cheryl just went through her second. I'm curious, Cheryl and Colin, because you're in the middle of those second Saturn returns, or you just came through. And Colin saying the first one kicked her ass. Mine kicked my ass. But honestly, I don't know anybody who doesn't get a real ass whooping from first Saturn return. That's why, by the way, when you see people who are 27, 28, 29, 30, and they are getting married, getting divorced, having kids, never having kids, moving to a new country, leaving a country. I mean, literally just people in their 27, 28, 29, 30, you sometimes just watch them. It's almost hard to watch, because what they're literally doing is bouncing against walls. Think about the people in your life. If this is a new concept to you, think about it for just a second. Where were you at 27, 28, 29, right? Really what people are doing during their Saturn return is bouncing against walls to see how much they can take. It's like, let me try throwing myself against that wall, and then let me try throwing myself against that wall. And it's like, you can't help anybody through it necessarily, except with the gift of awareness, right? Like, I have a friend who's 29 and she's totally going through it. And I just said, it'll be okay. It's like anything else. When you're on the other side of it, you can see and you have such great clarity, but you can really turn your life upside down. And if you see somebody sort of going down that path, pull them aside and go read about the Saturn return and then call me in the morning. Maybe wait a year. Maybe wait a year before you do all those crazy things, right? Patty got divorced. Retha said hers was awful. Mine was crazy. I mean, I honestly, I think you lose just a little bit of sanity during that time too, because imagine the whole universe is doing this with you. Because here's the goal. You ready? At the end of the Saturn return, you should be able to look around your life and say, yes, I want that marriage. Yes, I want that job. Yes, I want those children. Yes, I want that. Like, the goal is for you to have complete clarity when you come out of the other side. But sometimes to get to clarity, you gotta literally shake somebody, and that's what a Saturn return feels like. Oh, Liz, I hear you. And when you have loved ones who are going through it, sometimes awareness is not as helpful as you might think, because it's like, just knowing that you're going through it doesn't mean that you don't have to go through it. It can be very, very challenging. So Suzanne's been through her second. So those of you, I'm just curious, you don't have to say too much, but those of you who are in or through your second, can you tell me how it was compared to the first? I'm very curious. Did you find that it was more severe than the first? Or maybe it wasn't because you were prepared, like you saw the signs and you're like, oh yeah, this is second Saturn return, I know what this is. Yeah, I mean, Colin says at least it won't last forever, which is really true. And again, all those changes, the you that comes out of that washing machine is fresh and clean. So it does work. It does produce a you that is more aligned with your truth. It really does produce that. But man, beautiful. Okay, so that's helpful, to know. Yeah, because it's, Colin is saying it's deeper and it's less traumatic. She's shedding, but it's not chaotic. And so maybe the awareness really is a gift. I think that's very possible. Yeah, you get older, you get better, you get wiser, right? That's why menopause happens at the age it does. I'm in the beginning of it, but I think it's because if we had to go through this when we were young, or with new partners, I keep telling David, because menopause is like Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. And so I keep telling Dave, I just want to say I'm sorry now, just for everything that I might say or do for the next, 5 years. And just, maybe just stay with me and it'll get better. I'm laughing actually because it's not that bad. But there are definitely moments where I was like, with menopause, you walk into a room and you forget, like, I don't know why I'm here. You literally are like, I've got to go downstairs and go to the living room. And then you get there and you're like, hi, everybody. Wow. Yeah. So anyway, okay. So I told you everything I need to tell you about the North Node. It's your developed qualities, underdeveloped, and then South Node is underdeveloped. Your South Node, by the way, is typically the gifts that you brought from the past lifetime into this lifetime, okay? As well as the challenges. Challenges and gifts, south node. North node is lessons in this lifetime, but challenges and gifts from previous lifetimes is the south node. Oh, you sweet ones. Did you really? Fran said she lost her daughter during the second return. Yeah, I'm very sorry to hear that too. And how difficult that must have been with you. It makes me want to, or for you, it makes me want to put my arms around you and just hug you. And because, you know, I mean, it's hard enough without having to go through any kind of serious trauma and grief, you know? So anyway, just extend a hand and a heart to you today for that. Okay, so let's talk about this. And so let's talk about each of the signs and what would it look like for that to be overdeveloped or underdeveloped, okay? So remember, your north node is your underdeveloped and your south node is your overdeveloped, okay? So we'll talk about each of the signs. You know what, Fran, I can't even imagine. But I just say cheers to you for getting through it with grace, because that's what we do. We see you. And thank you for letting us see you. Mwah. Okay, so North Node in Aquarius. Let's go through all the nodes first in North, and then we'll go through all the nodes in the South, and then that'll wrap us up for tonight. And then what I would love to have you do is actually go into the group and share your nodes so that we can comment and give you some additional insight. I wish there was space and time to actually interpret, your charts completely and so forth. But if there are astrologers in the group, that want to let us know that this is work that you do, that would be great to know. If you have referrals to astrologers that you know and trust, I think that would be really helpful too. I don't interpret full charts, and I don't do readings anymore. It's not. I used to pull charts when I did readings because it really offers a nice baseline to understand, people's primary challenges and gifts in their lifetime. So I used to do that all as part of it, but I don't so much do that work anymore. Oh, I'm glad Fran says she feels the support from us, which is very important. We see you. But one of the things you should know, that's the purpose of these groups, is so that we can talk about these very difficult things, the loss and the grief and the timing and how all of that gets compounded by variables like your astrological profile, and also by your age. There's so many things that go into all of this. And I will tell you this, you can look at it two different ways. You can say, well, I'm really glad that I know all these things and I have this information because it makes my life richer, and it doesn't make my life easier, but it means that when shit hits the fan, I sort of have a sense of why it's hitting the fan and how to approach it without incurring more karmic debt. You can look at it that way, or you can look at it and say, would you rather not know? Would you rather not know that 29 is a Saturn return? Would you rather not know that your karmic lessons are about, A, B, and C? I think it leads to a life of fewer landmines. That's the number one thing I think information like this does, is life is replete with landmines. You can always step somewhere and lose your footing, or, have a experience that will challenge you. But astrology becomes this map for where the landmines are, right? And it's sort of like, okay, I think I'd rather know. But that's an interesting metaphysical question, isn't it? Like, would you rather know? We were talking about earlier, a couple of us on the team, we're talking about how there's different types of astrologers, really. And one type is really good at predicting the end of life. You can look at an astrological chart, a natal chart, and actually deduce the length of a person's life. Not a lot of people do that. I have never had it done, and I really wouldn't want to have it done. But there are people who like to know that information, and ostensibly it makes their life better to know how long they have. But it's another one of those really tricky, sticky ethical questions, like, would you tell someone? Would you want to know? All those things. It's a very interesting subject to me. Okay, so North Node in Aquarius, I'm just going to kind of run through these a little bit quickly. Well, it's interesting, right? It's, I once wrote a little kind of thing for my kids, because I keep notes for things for them, and I was talking about how you never know when something's the last time, right? Like, did I know the last time I breastfed my children was the last time I breastfed my children? Did I know that the last time my kids took a bottle, that it was the last time they would take a bottle, And so would you benefit? Would you like to know that when the last times are in your life, or is there a serendipity and a beauty in not knowing? Interesting. There's a lag with the audio, Karen says. Are you guys hearing me okay? Like, does it sound synchronous and on point? Let me know, because if there's a problem with our audio, I can have the team look into it. But is everybody else hearing me okay? I just want to make sure that it's nice and clear. We have our microphone on and everything functioning. Okay, cool. All right, so let's go through. So North Node in Aquarius, let's think about what it would look like for Aquarian characteristics to be overdeveloped, okay? Yeah, try refreshing your screen. I have seen a couple people tonight, Karen, say that refreshing their screen is helping them with everything too. Okay, so I'm sorry, your North Node is your underdeveloped. So let's talk about what it would mean for a Northern Node Aquarius placement to have that be an underdeveloped area of traits. So Aquarius people are here to shift paradigms, okay? They are here to create new models and ways of thinking and ways of being. Aquarian people are here to innovate, and they innovate in different ways. They innovate in relationships, they innovate in partnerships, they innovate professionally, they innovate emotionally, because they're constantly going through renewal. Aquarians are some of the most powerful shapeshifters in the zodiac because they're constantly in a state of renewal. Aquarians also bring a lot of healing. They are very profound healers. They're known as the water bearer, and they themselves don't bring water, but they hold water. So even though Aquarians are an air sign, they are constantly renewing, and they're able to hold the element of water as the water bearer. So they're one of the only signs in the zodiac that has as its symbol something that aligns to a different element, which is fascinating. They are an air sign, but they are the water bearer. Okay, so what would it look like for Aquarius qualities to be underdeveloped? And I'm very curious too, because those of you who have North Node in Aquarius, do you have other Aquarius in your chart, right? I've found very often that a lot of people don't have much of their North Node in the rest of their chart. That happens quite frequently. So if that's an underdeveloped quality, it means that you need to spend this lifetime engaging in more innovation. Get unstuck from old limiting patterns of belief. Aquarius will do that because Aquarius is going to push you to question your assumptions, right? Why do you believe that? Why do you think that? And Aquarians can be a little confrontational, but again, it's in service of getting you to unhinge yourself just a little bit. They're very, very good at helping other people grow. So I would say if you have North Node in Aquarius, your underdeveloped ability is around change and healing and disruption, the shifting of a paradigm. And that's partly what you're here to do. Yeah, Mandy says she might be one in her next life, right? Now, your South Node is where you have your overdeveloped qualities, things that you need to not hold on to just for the sake of security. If your North is in Aquarius, your South is in Leo. That's the opposite sign. And so what you want to do is be careful not to engage in all of that paradigm disruption for power, okay? Because you have some overdeveloped, if you have North Node in Aquarius, you have some overdeveloped skills in the arena of leadership and creation and power. And so that's your check mechanism on your North Node. North Node in Pisces, and there were a couple of you who have this, so your underdeveloped skills are going to be around emotions and your imagination. The Pisces are able to imagine deeper states of love than any other sign. And through that, the power of their imagination, they're able to manifest these really deep emotions. And they're here to, I always say, they're here to feel for the rest of us, because Pisces feels everything so deeply, that they're kind of just feeling it for everybody, and so we appreciate them for that. And then if your North Node's in Pisces, it means your South is in Virgo, and so we think about that as being your overdeveloped skills. So if your North Node's in Pisces, it means that you came here to feel, and what you need to let go of is the criticism, the constant, ongoing criticism of yourself and everybody else, which probably, again, because your South Node points to some limiting beliefs and behaviors and patterns, you're probably boxing yourself in by being too critical of self and others. Does that make sense? Okay, you ready? And then North Node in Aries. Again, North Node meaning this is what you have to build. This is what you have to create. These are your underdeveloped skills. Aries is about being direct, clear, making forward progress, and understanding what it means to be accurate and right. Okay? Aries, every Aries is interested in accuracy. It's almost like they're competitive about it. Like, how many times was I right? Here, I can tell you, I kept a careful record of how many times I was right. That's Aries, right? So if your North Node is in Aries, part of what you've come in to learn is about your own accuracy, your own reliability, your own direction, and your own ability to take action in direction of your dreams. Yeah? Now, if your North is in Aries, your South is in Libra, and so what you have overdeveloped most likely is a sense of balance and fairness. So what I would say your life work is with a North Node in Aries is you need to take action. You've been wishy-washy, right? I mean, that complement of the South in Libra is sort of a sign of indecision. And so I really think this is a karmic profile around really having to put yourself out there, make a decision, take action, knowing that you might not be right, but also knowing that this is why you're here and it's your soul's own path of development. Does that make sense? Yeah. It's good stuff, yeah? Okay. So now, I'm going down here to the bottom of the feed. Okay, so now we're going to talk about North Node in Taurus. So North Node in Taurus, think about all the things that Taurus represents. So Taurus is here to create. All Taurus people are artists, but they are unconventional artists. They might be multimedia. They might, Taurus sometimes does their art through food. They might be incredible cooks. They might actually be painters and artists, but they also might be philosophers or professors. There's some way that they show up as artists. It can't even just be the makeup that they put on their face, right? Hi, sweet Jessica. Sending you a hug and a kiss tonight. So if your North Node is in Taurus, they're also really good with money. They're very balanced and very grounded, but they are stubborn as hell. So if your North Node is in Taurus, part of what you come here to learn, because this is an underdeveloped area for you, is how to go with the flow a little bit. Not to hoard, not to guard, and to indulge more of that creative sense of yourself, which will actually free you from a lot of the stubbornness and the limiting structures that Taurus puts on itself, right? And so if your North Node is in Taurus, that means your South Node is in Scorpio, and that is where you're overdeveloped. Okay, so what you need to be aware of that you need to let go is all that Scorpio represents, right? Which is maybe you're too intense, maybe you're too passionate, maybe you're too vindictive. Maybe you need to let go of revenge or a sense of vindictiveness in service of art, in service of beauty, in service of grounding, right? So those are your polar opposites that you have to balance. If your North Node is in Gemini, and again, that means it's underdeveloped for you. Gemini is about communication. Gemini is about the exchange, the currency of ideas. Gemini is about duality. So if you have a North Node in Gemini, you're probably here to enact or create some sort of alternate form of yourself, to maybe reinvent yourself in a new way, or to develop your own communication skills. A lot of people with North Node in Gemini are not good communicators, and so one of the reasons that they came in was to try and learn how to communicate better and to play fair and to be more open. So if your North is in Gemini, that means your South is in Sagittarius. That means that's overdeveloped for you. So a South in Sagittarius is going to look like a very liberated sense of self, relying on that liberation too much, maybe. Being too much of a rebel can look like South Node in Sagittarius. Sometimes Sagittarians, don't know how to use the fire within themselves. So they'll turn it outside of themselves rather than turning it within to be reflective. And so Sagittarians, this kind of shadow of Sagittarius that can show up in the South Node is a lot of judgment against others. they're doing this, or they didn't do that for me. There's a lot of that comes up sometimes in the south node of Sagittarius. Okay, so that's your balance. You need to become more communicative, more open, more dual in the sense of developing more dimension maybe to your personality. What you need to dial back is your need for freedom. Your need to be out in the world and going and doing. Maybe you need to become more inward and more reflective and more communicative. Okay, so we're focusing on nodes tonight. We can always come back to moon signs, by the way, because if your sun, moon, or rising is in either the sign of your north node or your south node, that's going to mean it's more profound for you, right? There's more influence of that sign across your chart, so we can talk about that too. If your north node is in Cancer, you're the opposite of me. My north node is in Capricorn with south node in Cancer. So this is sort of the flip-flop, right? So if your north node is in Cancer, this is your overdeveloped area where it's underdeveloped for me. So if you have overdeveloped Cancer, this is the sign of someone, actually no, if your north node is in Cancer, this is where you need to develop. This is your underdeveloped. You need to develop more of the emotional capacity. You need to develop more of a paternal or maternal voice and connection. You need to develop a connection to deeper emotions. That's where you need to grow. And so the universe, if you have a north node in Cancer, the universe is going to spend a whole bunch of time trying to show you different kinds of relationships and see how you orient yourself emotionally to them. This is a very emotional lifetime for someone with north node in Cancer. There's a lot of you, right? So whereas this lifetime is not an emotional lifetime for me, because I have the opposite. My Cancer is overdeveloped for me in the south node. But for those of you who it's in the north node, it's underdeveloped. And so you're really going to have to learn to work with all those heavy emotions. I think because it's my south node, that's why I don't really have any planets in water signs this time around. I've had a lot of really emotional lifetimes, and I think in all my work with the Akashic Records, I think my understanding of my own lifetime is this is not to be an emotional lifetime for me. I almost think I made that agreement that if I was going to come back, it wasn't going to be kind of a waterworks life. You know what I mean? Like, I'm here to do heavier, harder work now and less of the emotional connectivity. I think those were previous lifetimes. That's not really what I'm here for this time. So again, all of this, I'm trying to give you some information so that you can say the same thing. Like, I think that's what I'm here for this time. And if you're north nodes in Cancer, you are having an emotional life. Is anybody having that experience? If your north nodes in Cancer, do you feel like it's a really emotional life for you? Might be a lot of tears, might be a lot of miscommunication, might be a lot of chances for you to experience some of the shadow emotions like jealousy or the desire for revenge or holding a grudge. Like, a lot of that can be happening in a north node lifetime. By the way, having a north node in Cancer doesn't mean you like anything I'm telling you. It just means it's why you're here. You may not enjoy this at all. I hate to tell you that. Okay, so that's Cancer Capricorn, because then you have the flip-flop of me, which means your south node is Capricorn, your southern node, which means your overdeveloped qualities are around relationships to authority, rules and structures, the father. Like you have that all worked out if your north node's in Cancer. I don't have that. So that's what I'm here for, and I've worked out what you're here working on. So we would be good like soul buddies to each other, because you could be teaching me some of the things I need to learn, and I could be teaching you some of the things that you need to learn, right? If your north node is in Leo, that's your underdeveloped area, and you need to build confidence, power, strength, charisma, all the things that Leo is known for. You need to develop your leadership skills. And so you may, and by the way, this is true of all the north nodes. Interesting. Well, Mandy, so just so you know, because Mandy says, I know a north node Cancer, south node Capricorn, who very much lives in the Capricorn realm still. That's a flag. Okay, so there's the what of all of this, which I'm trying to teach you the what. Then there's the how do you work with this information, okay? And when I see somebody who is not actively pursuing the karmic work of the north node, because again, that's why you're on the planet this time. It also tells you a little bit about struggles you may have had in previous lifetimes. If you find somebody who's not doing the work of that North Node, that's not a great thing. It means that they're resisting some of the life lessons that they came in to learn, and they're retreating to the comfort of the South Node, which is, of course, you do, right? It's all the things that you know well. It's the emotions that you're not afraid of. It's the work you've already done. And so I don't like to see people get super comfy in the South because it tells me they're not doing the work in the North. Is that helpful? Did I lose anybody? Like, is that could be somewhat confusing. So I just want to make sure that I have explained that really clearly. You want to see people doing the work of the North Node, because that's center point, right, of all of the work that you came here to do. It's like the universe pulling back a curtain and saying, there it is, go do that, and don't stop till you're done, kind of thing, or don't stop till we tell you to stop, kind of thing. So that's why this is so important and so helpful. And so even if you're doing work with clients, I mean, I'm giving this to you in Illumina because I know a lot of you work with clients or will be working with clients. And so, ahead of a healing session, you could ask someone to, run their own chart and bring it to you, or you could just give them the North-South Node site that I gave you and say, I just would like to have this information because it'll help me understand a little bit better about why you're here on this planet, and I'll be able to give you better soul guidance or something like that. So I'm really offering this to you tonight as a tool in your toolbox, because it's going to give you, think about that. With one word, basically, you have a good glimpse into the reason why someone is on this planet right now. And how much help can that be for them? And what's kind of sad to me is you don't see anybody talk about this, really. I'm going to do a blog about it because I think it's just so... It's like what you don't know that you have to know, not even that you should know. It's like you have to know it. This is game changer stuff, you know what I mean? But that's exactly why I'm doing it with you right now. Virgo Pisces, if your North Node is in Virgo, that means that you are here to build and develop the inner critic. And so that is the focus of this lifetime, is teaching you how to look with a finer... look with a bigger microscope or brush with a finer comb, because that's what Virgo does. Virgo opens the aperture. Let me see what Kaylee's saying. Let me send you how many times. Yeah, I know. You should read Kaylee's comment. I think the universe is saying that to a lot of us, actually. You know what I mean? Like, how much more information do you need? How much more insight do you need? How many more signs do you need? But some of us need all the signs and all the motivation. Okay. So Virgo, if your North Node is in Virgo, it means that you are here to, like I said, look with a bigger lens, brush with a finer comb. You're missing the details. You can't miss the details. Also, if your North Node's in Virgo, you are here to work. And so, and you're here to be of service to others, because Virgo is the ultimate sign of service. And in fact, a lot of people connect on partnership levels around that. My husband's a Virgo. My Venus is in Virgo. Venus in Virgo is a placement of a life of service, because Venus in Virgo means you privilege service over sex, which, is true for those of us with Venus in Virgo. We're very passionate people, but at the end of the day, we privilege service over passion, or intimacy. And so that's also, but anything like that can become a martyrdom, right? You can take that too far, and then you stop being an alive, passionate person, and you kind of succumb to the service. And so, as with everything that I teach you, it's all about balancing the karmic lessons with the overdeveloped skills. You know what I mean? Learning not to rely on what you know, but rather to explore what you don't, even if relying on what you know is more comfortable, because you're not here to do that. If you were just here to get on a skateboard and ride around and do what you always did and know what you always knew, I don't think you'd be here very long. So it's almost like this is all you can do is make an agreement to step forward into this. So I was talking about North Node in Leo. I think that you're here to develop power and authority. You're here to develop charisma. If your North Node is in Leo, you're here to develop a presence, and you're here to lead others, and you cannot shrink back. If your North Node's in Leo, you probably have been shrinking back in your lifetimes. Now you're here to step up and take some control and say yes. All those things are what Leo represents. So if your North Node's there, then your South Node is in Aquarius. And so, of course, that's the opposite, right? So your overdeveloped skills would be in shifting paradigms, creating disruption, which is not leadership. You need that to happen, but that's not leadership. So a North Node in Leo, South Node in Aquarius is going to be a profile of somebody who can't hide behind others anymore. You have to step forward and you have to take responsibility and you have to do this work. It's why you're here. Okay. And then we did Virgo Pisces. So Virgo, North Node in Virgo is you're here to work, you're here to serve. South Node in Pisces, what you're naturally inclined to retreat to your emotions and to feel sorry for yourself probably, but that's not what you're here to do. You're not here to feel sorry for yourself. You're not here to cry. You're not here to, build things through your imagination. You're not here to connect people at the level of emotion. If your North Node's in Virgo, you are here to serve others, and you are here to stabilize others, and you are here to see others with a fine-tooth comb and to offer that level of detail and diligence that Virgos are so incredibly well known for. Is this helpful for you guys? I was so excited to come and spend this hour with you tonight talking about all this, because to me this is like the business, yeah? What a great question. Robin says, did we not do, I didn't quite go through all of them because they're sort of reverse of each other. So Sagittarius is opposite Gemini. So if your North Node's in Sagittarius, you are here to create freedom and liberation. You are here to experience freedom and liberation. You are not here to communicate, find balance, and to represent duality. So that is kind of like the you're here for this, not here for this. So, like I said, go back to your notes from last time. Everything I told you about the houses will give you context for understanding more about this. And then if you'd like to talk more astrology, we can always do that in the months going forward. Yeah, North Node in Scorpio, so think about that. So Scorpio is about so much. Scorpio is about depth. Scorpio is about revenge. Scorpio is about death, transformation. And so if your North Node is in that area, you're going to have to get comfortable with all that, because you're here to create transformation. You're here to deepen people's awareness of the cycles of life and death. You're here to experience an intensity of emotional connection that you may never have experienced before, but then you're going to have to sacrifice and not rely on the qualities of Gemini that may have gotten you out of things before but won't get you out of them this time. And then North Node Libra is going to be South Node Aries. So North Node in Libra, this is, you're here to work on diplomacy. Isn't this interesting for you, Colin, right? Like, whoa. You're here to work on balance. You're here to work on fairness. You're here to work on diplomacy. You're here to soothe people with words. You're here to, Libra is literally like the scales, right? I have chills kind of all over, but, because of Colin's professional background. Like, I think of your North Node, Colin, and it's like, duh, But then that means your South Node is in Aries. And so what you're used to, your escape mechanism, your release valve is everything that Aries represents, which is authority and being direct and having all the right answers all the time. What I would tell you, like, part of my advice for you, Colin, based on this is you're not here to have all the right answers anymore. You're here to communicate, breathe, and open doors for people. And couldn't this turn into, you guys, I'm curious what you think about this, couldn't this turn into quite a relief for people? How powerful is that? What if Colin was getting really, I'm using Colin as an example, but what if Colin was really frustrated with her life? This is not true, but what if it was? What if Colin was really frustrated because she felt like everywhere she went, people expected her to be right? Right. I have the answer. I know it. I'll raise my hand. Aries is the kid in class that goes, I know the answer. What if Colin was really stuck and frustrated in her life? And so with this information, she could say, oh my gosh, I'm not even here to be doing that. I'm going to let go of that for a minute. Imagine the mindset shift that could create for somebody. Like, holy shit, I'm not here for that. I am here to open up doorways and possibilities and to communicate and to allow and to be gracious and to be gentle and to be fair and balanced and just to show people, like, to kind of embody the definition of equality and fairness and grace, and like how, I'm just saying, I think this has real potential to change people's lives in a way that just telling them what their sun sign is and saying, all right, well, you're a Virgo, it's sort of like people want to know why they're here, and I really do, and they also want to know why they're struggling. And I think that's the gift of the North and South nodes. So what I would love to see you do, like I'm thinking about Colin's Brian, right, and even her children, because you can look. I mean, I'm using her as an example because I know her well, and she just came and visited, but I know a lot of you well, so I could do this for any one of you. But I would really love for you to sit down. Patty says she and Russ are complete opposites. North node Pisces, South node Virgo. North node Virgo, South node Pisces. No, I mean, Patty, for goodness sake, honestly, that tells me that you are with that partner because you guys are teaching each other. You're literally mirroring to each other why you came to the planet this time. If that isn't a beautiful, well-aspected partnership, honest to God, I don't even know. I mean, that is like, you want to talk about yin and yang? Holy, holy, holy. You should go kiss him right this very minute. Because he's a karmic partner to you, right? All right, girls. So I have a giveaway. Ready? Because you're doing all this beautiful karmic work and you are looking so deeply into your soul to understand why you're here and what you need to do and what you need to let go of, and because I love you so much. Patty's going to go make out with Russ. It's totally fine. This is Nika selenite from the Nika mine in Mexico. That is the one that you've seen on Facebook, with like the, 500-foot crystals. And so the Nika mine is closed. I think you know that. We had Nika selenite on the website for like a second, and it's pretty much gone. And so I'm holding on to the last few pieces because this doesn't exist, so that you will not be able to go into the mine anymore. The water has surpassed the level where you could be in there, and the temperature now is so high that human life can't be sustained in there. So this is it for Nika, at least I would say probably for the next decade or two, unless the Mexican government decides to fund the removal of the water, which at this point they are not. I'm just telling you all this backstory because I know the person who mined this. So selenite is one of the most powerful karmic cleansers. Think of this like a little bar of karma soap. Bye-bye. Shitty karma. Bye-bye. So who feels like, I mean, all of you need this on some level, but who feels like, and any selenite will work, so you can always do this work with your own selenite, but there's something about the temperature. This one has been exposed to heat, in a big old way. Who feels like you really need to scrub? It's almost like Calgon, take me away with your karma. Let me know if this feels right to you, and I'm just going to intuitively choose someone, because I don't have somebody in mind right now. Sometimes I do, but I sort of came into this one open. Jessica's like, I can't even, and she fell over. That was a mic drop moment for Jessica Hicks just now. She was like, I can't. I know you all do. It's truly true. Okay, so I'm just going to take another minute just to read through your comments and see where I'm going. Look, Patty stopped making out with Russ long enough to come and comment here. I'm totally teasing you guys. I hope Russ is okay. Okay, I think I have a hit. So many, honestly, if I had 20 pieces of this, I don't. But if I did, I seriously would just sit here and go, and for you, and for you, and for you. I know. Okay, I think I've got it. I really do think I've got it. That's so funny. Okay, so this was not easy for me because I really, usually the spirit voice is so loud that it drowns out my own human, like, I think it should go to her. So I really had to drown that out for just a second. The person that spirit wants to get this is Jessica Hicks. And it's really funny because I have a feeling that you're going to do something very specific with this, Jessica, and I also have a feeling that it may be in your possession for a little while, and it may travel. I don't know why, I just have that feeling. I have a feeling that Jessica's going to start doing this work. She's going to use this tool. She's going to work through a lot of stuff. And then it's almost, Jessica, like I think somebody's going to come to you. I'm seeing this like so clearly in my mind's eye, and they're going to tell you, they're going to confide in you about all the stuff that they're going through. I swear this will happen one day, and you'll have to tell me. And Jessica's going to look at them and say, stay right there, I have something for you. And this is going to become like the traveling karma soap. Maybe it's even going to be one of you. Like maybe Jessica, I'm going to set you up for insanity, Jessica, but maybe it's even going to be this group. It'll be like the you know, what is it, Traveling Pants or the Yaya Sisterhood or whatever. It could end up being that it travels within this group before it. So Jessica, with a lot of love, I'm going to send you some karma soap tomorrow and just hope it sloughs off all the dead karma on your skin, leaves you feeling fresh and clean. I love that so much, don't you? All right, cheers, you guys. I have to run this evening, but it has been so good to see you. So fun to celebrate my birthday with you. So fun to talk about karma and the nodes with you tonight. So please start some threads, would you, in the Illumina group, just to share your nodes and maybe anything you want to share about your family, because I think it'd be really fun for us to start to build this awareness together. It's so, so, so good. Ah, she's crying. They're happy tears, though. I know they're happy tears. I love you, too. Thanks so much, you guys. I'll see you very, very, very soon. Enjoy the rest of your night, everybody.